Hey guys, this is Javin with AudioMediaProductionService.com. Today we're going to talk about the routing section of the Behringer X32. First we want to hit the routings tab to the right of the screen. And the first page that comes up is the input section of the routing tab. It does go in blocks of 8. You are choosing which inputs. Say right now I got 1 through 8 selected. That is the control surface faders. So I'm selecting the inputs for that control surface on layer 1 through 8 on the console. So this is local inputs. What that means, local is your inputs from the back of the console. If you go down, scroll down a little farther, you got AES50 port A. Faders 1 or channels 1 through 8 inputs from your Cat 5 stage box, like the Behringer X16. You can choose AES50A 9 through 16, 17 through 24, 25 through 32. Moving down, you also got AES50B port. So there is 2 Cat 5 ports on the back of the console that you can choose from, and you can choose any inputs from the back of the board, or your stage boxes, or you can even do your Firewire card. So if you want to do like a virtual sound check kind of situation, say you went and recorded the band the night before per channel into your DAW software like Pro Tools, you could play it back by selecting the card inputs 1 through 8 from your computer, as long as your DAW is routed right also. But you can bring those stems back into the faders here and do a virtual sound check and sound check the band without the band actually playing or being there, which is pretty cool. Just moving on, you got your control surface faders 9 through 16, control surface faders 17 through 24, control surface faders of 25 through 32, and it's all the same. So if you were to say stock out of the board, you would have a situation like this. It would be inputs 1 through 8 would be 1 through 8. Inputs 9 through 16 would be 9 through 16. It'd be local input 17 through 24 if you got the big console. And then you'd have local input 25 through 32, because there would be 32 physical inputs on the back of the console. So that's what it would look like stock, straight from Behringer or from the store or wherever you bought it. Next to that, we have the aux-in remap. So you have 6 aux-ins on the back of the console also that are tip ring sleeve instead of XLR. You can also remap these to be in blocks of 2 to be any inputs. So you can be local inputs, AES50 Cat 5s, A and B, and your card. My personal opinion, I think the routing section of the console is probably the most complicated thing about the console, but once you understand it, it's not that bad. Tabbing over to the next page, we're going to have the output section of the console. This is where you can assign the routing for any of the outputs. So when you get the console, stock again, it would be outputs 1 through 14, I believe, will be mix bus 1 through 14 on the faders down below for 14 monitor sends. And then I believe 15 and 16 is your main left and right stock when you get it from the store or wherever you bought it from. To change one of these, you'd select the output you wanted to change, and then you go over to the category. As you can see, you can choose main left and right center. You can choose a mix bus, which it's already on mix bus 1 right now. You can route it to a matrix send. You can have it be a direct out or a monitor your monitor wedge, which is I'm talking about near field monitors. There's two monitor outs on the back that are tip ring sleeve also, or 1/4 inch. So there's a lot of functionality in the routing section of this console. And then, of course, you can also, on this section, choose pre-EQ, post-EQ, pre-EQ plus mono, or post-EQ plus mono, pre-fader, post-fader. There's a lot of functionality on the outputs in this board. One thing I do is I split the console into 2 consoles, one for monitors, one for front of house. You probably heard me talk about this quite a few times in previous videos. But on this section, what I do is this is where I go to choose that output to be post EQ, not post fader, because I don't want the channel faders affecting the volumes in that monitor. But I do post EQ, so when I mirror image my channels 1 through 16, what happens is if I have it post EQ, now I have channel EQs in those monitor sends, so I can make better mixes, have more control of the monitors for the band. Next to that, we have a delay. So you can delay your outputs. So say you had you weren't using an external crossover like a drive rack or something. You're using the crossover function in the board, which you can do from the matrix section. If you need to get to the delays, this is where you would go. So you can time align your speakers together. All you do is just choose the output, which stock out of the console would be 15 and 16. You can go ahead and push the encoder in to engage the delay. And one cool thing about this is you don't have to do any math equations to get your delay time. It actually shows you how many feet and how many milliseconds there. So all you have to do is actually take a tape measure and measure out the feet or inches or whatever you're doing to time align your speakers together. Then tab over again, we have our aux out remap. We can assign these to be anything also: main left and right, mixed bus, direct outs, your monitor sends. You can assign them to pretty much anything: pre, post EQ, pre fader, post EQ plus mono, etc. This next tab over here is your P16 personal monitoring system tab. So this is where you would set the routing for those P16s. The P16s have an Ethernet port on the back of the console. You do not have to take up any of your XLR outputs to use the P16s, and I think you can daisy chain quite a few together. So you'd still have your 16 monitor sends or bus sends, but if the whole band was using P16s, those little personal monitoring boards, then you wouldn't have to use any of your bus sends for monitors. Then you can have as many subgroups as you want, or as many effect sends as you want. And this is where you would sign those. So once again, you just choose the P16s. I believe only give you 16 channels. Yep. So you would just pick the direct out where you wanted it. So say I wanted it to work on P16 channel 1, but say he had they gave me a page with all their input lists, but they wanted their P16s routed a certain way. So say on the console, on the control surface, I got the snare on channel 2, but they want it coming on channel 7 in their P16. So I'd go select the channel 7 in their P16, and then I would go down to, let's see, direct outs, and then I would select channel 2 because that's where my snare is coming from, just like that. So that's how you assign the channels on the P16s. Once again, you can choose pre-EQ, post-EQ, pre-fader, post-fader, etc. And next tab over, we got the card out section. Once again, it's in blocks of 8. This is where you would send your recording to your DAW. So you can choose any inputs to record onto your DAW. So if I had a FireWire cable or a USB plugged into my laptop and I wanted to record, but I wanted to not record from the AES-50's Cat5 box because I don't have one, I would go up to the local inputs. So local input 1 through 8, local input 9 through 16, 17 through 24, 25 through 32. On the next tab over, we have our routing for our AES-50 ports. And just like all the other tabs, it's all the same concept. So obviously you would want AES-50A, getting your inputs, AES-50A 1 through 8, etc. And then the same goes for AES-50B port. You just go through the control surface, assign the inputs in the blocks of 8. There's just so much functionality. So you can choose inputs from your DAW software. You can do it from your Cat5 stage boxes or the S16s, or you can do it from the local inputs on the console. And then we have an XLR out. When I first got the console, this kind of confused me a little bit, but from my understanding, if you want your outputs to read right, especially for monitor sends, you're going to want outputs 1 through 4 selected and outputs 5 through 8 selected for your, I do have the compact, so you would have more functionality here on the bigger board, but because I have the compact, there's only two blocks of 4 because I only have 8 outputs. On the bigger console, you would have 4 sections here in blocks of 4. So that covers the routing section. Let me also add, you can route instead of blocks of 8. If you don't want to route inputs in blocks of 8 like that, you can always go over to the the config/preamp section of the board, and you can choose your input routing on a per channel basis from there. If you like the videos I'm doing, please comment, subscribe. If you got any more ideas for future videos that I should do, or have any problems with your X32 or any live sound questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to make a video about it. Thanks. I'll talk to you later.